Chapter 1366. It wasn't just them, even the people from the other clans who were watching from a distance were also envious. Who didn't know that having the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb was equivalent to having an advantage in the exploration of the tomb? Although the Ouyang family had previously announced the news of the Saint Monarch's tomb, they had said that as long as the family clans came, they could enter the tomb to explore. But who didn't know that the chances of obtaining treasures with and without a map were completely different? Everyone was envious, but Luo Qingtong's expression was very indifferent. She held the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb in one hand and tossed it around. This map of the Saint Monarch's tomb was naturally obtained from the Celestial Palace. Hu Zhongtian and the others had not given her the map of family Hu yet. However, Hu Zhongtian had just told her the location of the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb and asked her to retrieve it after leaving this place. But how could Luo Qingtong be the kind of person who would suffer a loss and leave? In her previous life, when she was not strong enough, she would rather suffer 1,000 casualties than suffer 800 casualties every time she was hunted down. Moreover, these people from the Huo family were not qualified to make her suffer a loss and leave. Since the people from family who did not want to leave her, then she would naturally not abandon them. The map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. Seeing the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb in Luo Qingtong's hand, the elders of the Huo family immediately flew over to snatch it. Boom! As their figures pierced through the air, a cold sound was heard. Luo Qingtong's eyes suddenly narrowed. She was about to make a move. Suddenly, her pair of blood-red eyes swept across a place not far away. Immediately, she stopped moving and then looked at that place and said, "Are you done hiding there and watching the show? Why don't you get out here?" Following Luo Qingtong's voice, everyone immediately looked in that direction. However, as far as the eye could see, there was nothing. There were only a few parasol trees planted in the courtyard, full of branches and green leaves swaying in the breeze. With the cultivation of the people present, unless it was a powerhouse above the saint level, it would be impossible to hide from their aura detection. But how could such a powerhouse appear here? Not to mention that this unknown youth in front of them had berated them with words like, "Get out here." The elders surrounding Luo Qingtong looked at Luo Qingtong coldly and mockingly. "Kid, don't pretend to be a ghost. No matter how hard you struggle you can't escape from our palms. Give us the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb." Looking at their figures pouncing over, those pairs of claws stretched towards him, but there was no movement in the direction he was looking at. Luo Qingtong's Luo Qingtong, Luo Luo's she s's, SSSSS Luo's SSS Luo, as the, as where's, as t's Luo's where she's SSSS, SSS Luo Qingtong was so angry that she laughed. She suddenly raised her hand, and with a swoosh, the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb in her hand flew to the place where the shout came from. Bang! As the map was thrown out by Luo Qingtong, the expressions of the elders of the Huo family changed. They immediately turned around and grabbed at the place where the map fell. The strength of their bodies skyrocketed, extremely powerful. They were afraid that the people from the other families would suddenly make a move at this time and snatch this map. Boom! Several of them grabbed at the map at the same time. Chapter 1367. With a boom, their figures seemed to have been hit by something, and they were sent flying backward. Bang, bang, bang. The few of them crashed heavily onto the ground, almost brushing against the ground as they were sent flying for nearly 100 meters. Elders. The Huo clan's people were dumbfounded. Huo Ting and the others hurriedly ran to the Huo clan's elders and helped them up. Pfft. When those people were helped up, they spat out a mouthful of blood. It was obvious that their injuries were very serious. Who is it? They looked in horror at the place where they had been sent flying. There, the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb was in someone's hand. A light purple figure appeared at this moment. "I can't believe you actually found out," following this seductive and lazy voice, Yu Si Huang's devilishly handsome face looked gloomily in the direction of Luo Qingtong. He had thought that Luo Qingtong was deliberately tricking him. He didn't expect that she had actually seen through his tracks. But how was this possible? He had hidden from everyone's eyes. Even those experts who had surpassed the Saint Realm did not discover his existence and arrival. How was he caught by Luo Qingtong? Yu Si Huang felt very stifled. He had thought that when Luo Qingtong was in danger, he would make a move and win the reputation of being a hero who saved the damsel in distress. At that time, Luo Qingtong might look at him in a new light. At that time, his position in Luo Qingtong's heart might not be any worse than Yi Qinqian's. In the end, before he could do anything. Now, he was discovered by someone. Yu Si Huang's heart was resentful. Beside him, Yu Xingqi's mouth twitched. I told you that you couldn't hide from sister. This stupid brother still wanted to be a hero who saved the damsel in distress. Now, not only did he not save the damsel in distress, but he was also discovered. Yu Xingqi rolled her eyes at him. Yu Si Huang could not be bothered with her. He threw a coquettish glance at Luo Qingtong, then lazily tossed the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb in his hand and said with a smile, "Yeah, is this the token of love that little Zhou gave me?" What a surprise! Yu Xingqi did not know how to ridicule her brother's thick skin. Was the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb a token of love? You didn't come out for a long time, so sister used it to smash you, okay? Forcefully turning it into a token of love, Yu Xingqi was also convinced by his elder brother's ability to forcefully commit adultery. Luo Qingtong was also speechless. She was about to speak. However, at this moment, the group of Huo clan disciples that had followed Huo Ting to the Bai clan spoke. Pfft! I don't know where you came from, you sissy rabbit. How dare you play tricks here and injure a few of our Huo clan's elders? Do you know what kind of existence our Huo clan? We don't care how you injured the elders. Immediately hand over the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. Otherwise, we will make sure you can't walk out of the Bai clan. The Huo clan's disciples looked at Yu Si Huang's enchanting face and heard what he said to Luo Qingtong. They did not think that he was some kind of expert. The other party must be playing tricks. They did not know what kind of shameful method he used to injure the elders. Those methods can be used once, but not many times. Chapter 1368. Pfft. Ha. As the voices of the Huo clan's disciples sounded, Luo Qingtong and the others didn't react. Yu Xingqi was already holding Dudu, holding his stomach and laughing. I can't take it anymore. Sissy. Uncle Rabbit. Ha ha ha. Yu Xingqi hugged Dudu and almost fell to the ground laughing. She had lived for so many years, but this was the first time she heard someone scold her big brother like this. It was really too cool. Wasn't it? Ha ha ha. Speaking of which, she also had this feeling. In front of Luo Qingtong, her big brother's style was really too indescribable. However, due to the tyrannical power, she dared to think but didn't dare to say it. The Huo clan's people were really heroes. She admired them too much, didn't she? Yu Xingqi was laughing beside Yu Si Huang. He pointed at Yu Si Huang and laughed until he almost couldn't breathe. Yu Si Huang's face turned green. Luo Qingtong and the others also couldn't help but laugh. Especially Hu Yinyang. She knew about Yu Si Huang. The latter was the king of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands. Hu Yinyang helped Luo Qingtong take care of all the matters of the Blackfields mansion. Naturally, she had met him face to face. Not only that, Yu Si Huang had also sneaked into the Blackfields main city and went to Luo Qingtong's Blackfield mansion to look for her whereabouts. Therefore, Yin Yang was very clear about Yu Si Huang's identity. But it was because she was clear that she found it very funny. Because this king of the southern region, his style in front of others was not like when he was facing Luo Qingtong. That was the coexistence of majesty and enchanting, domineering and evildoer. It was definitely not like this, indescribable style. And those experts of the Blackfield mansion who came with Yen Yang also had an indescribable shock on their faces. Yi Qianxian previously announced to the people of the Blackfield that no one from the 3 islands and 7 lands of the southern region was allowed to enter any city under the name of the Blackfield. This was especially true for the people of the Imperial Sect and the sect master of the Imperial Sect. They had all seen the portrait posted by the Blackfield. Naturally, they knew that the purple-robed man in front of them was the sect leader of the Imperial Sect, the king of the 3 islands and 7 lands of the southern region. But, wasn't the other party's style a little too different from the king of the southern region, the leader of the Imperial Sect? While they were still in shock, the elders of the Huo family, who had just been helped up by the disciples of the Huo family, slipped and almost fell down again when they heard the words of the disciples of the Huo family. Naturally, it was because of the words of the Huo clan's disciples. They were people who directly faced Yu Sihuang, so they naturally knew that when the other party dealt with them, it wasn't because he used some so-called shameful method. Instead, it was a genuine attack. At this moment, they were all shocked and trying to guess the identity of the other party. In the end, these troublesome children of his actually went up against the other party directly. He even used such insults to provoke the other party. When these elders of the Huo family heard the words of the Huo family's disciples, they almost fainted from anger. Before they could open their mouths to stop these disciples, Yu Sihuang's cold voice had already sounded at this moment. Good. Good. Sissy, Master Rabbit. Yu Sihuang had been in charge of the Imperial Sect for so many years, but this was the first time he heard someone daring to use such words to scold him in front of his face. You people of the Huo family are very good. Chapter 1369. His face, which was more beautiful than a flower, was filled with a soul-stirring coldness. The smile on Yu Sihuang's face was cold. In the next second, he suddenly made his move. Bang, bang, bang. No one saw how he made his move. They only saw him wave his hand. In an instant, the Huo family disciples who had insulted him and supported the Huo family elders were turned into a pile of flesh and blood. With a bang, they exploded in front of everyone. The remaining Huo family members were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. You. Who are you? The elders of the Huo clan didn't even have time to react before the Huo clan disciples around them were all killed. At that moment, they were even more shocked. Huo Ting's face was also twitching violently. He looked at Yu Sihuang. He did not know how family who knew such a powerful expert. With a wave of his hand, the other party had repelled several Huo family elders and even took the lives of a group of Huo family disciples. They did not even see how the other party moved. The difference in strength was too great. Yu Sihuang. The man's voice was indifferent. At this moment, Yu Sihuang still had that devilishly lazy appearance, but at this moment, no one would be able to link him with the title of Sissy, Rabbit Grandpa. The man's aura was strong and domineering. He was obviously the same person, but his temperament had completely changed. Not everyone could enjoy the treatment that Yu Sihuang had given Luo Qingtong. The only outcome for those who challenged the authority of a king was death. All of you, break one of your own arms and scram. Yu Sihuang looked at the remaining Huo family members indifferently and said. Tell the person in charge of the Huo family that family who is under my protection. This is the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. If they have the ability, they can come and take it. Yu Sihuang said and immediately winked at Luo Qingtong. Little Zhou, don't you think so? Luo Qingtong glanced at him without saying anything. Then, she looked at the group of people from the Huo family and said, So, did you hear what he said clearly? Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, but the Huo family was still in a daze. Yu Sihuang. As early as when Yu Sihuang announced his name, these Hu clan people already clearly knew the other party's identity. King of the Southern Region, Imperial Emperor Sect Master. Someone exclaimed and revealed Yu Sihuang's identity. Everyone present, including the people from the other families and the Hu family, all looked at Yu Sihuang in shock. No one had imagined that this monstrously handsome young man would actually be the king of the 3 islands and 7 lands of the southern domain. Imperial Sect Master, Yu Sihuang. No wonder he was so powerful. Everyone in the Hu family was shocked beyond words. Indeed, this was the far west desolate region, not the southern region. As for the imperial family, they had no power here. But, Yu Sihuang is the king of the southern region. The southern region's power in the far west desolate region was not small. Those people, if Yu Sihuang spoke, would definitely stand on his side. So, Yu Sihuang was not to be trifled with. Family who actually had such a powerful person behind him. Everyone in the Hu family was annoyed. Chapter 1370. Wouldn't it be better to work with him? This way, the ruler of the imperial sect would also stand on the Hu family's side. When the Saint King's tomb opened, the Hu family's gains might even be greater than the Ouyang family's. In the future, it would only be a matter of time before they surpassed the Ouyang family and became the #1 family in Wild City. However, all of this was now ruined by them. Not only did they not get the map of the Saint King's tomb, they had also completely offended the ruler of the southern region. Everyone in the Hu family was stunned. As for the few elders who had been so arrogant earlier, asking Huiting not to help Hu Yenyang and even offering some benefits in exchange for the map of the Saint King's tomb with family Hu, the Hu family elders' faces turned green and black. If there was a big hole in front of them at this moment, they would definitely jump in without hesitation. They had previously despised family Hu for being too weak and thought that with the Hu family's strength, they could completely crush the other party. Since that was the case, why should they work together? Of course, it was by force. However, who would have thought that the end result would be like this? Even if they knew that Chu Lingfeng had once taken out the Imperial Sect's guardian token at the city gate, they would never have thought that the Imperial Sect Master would be by his side and stay with family Hu. Moreover, he was so protective of family Hu. Their complexions were alternating between green and white. Among them, Huiting's expression was the most interesting. He clearly had the opportunity to help Yenyang previously, but in the end, he chose to shrink back. Moreover, he shamelessly asked Yenyang to give up the map of the Saint King's tomb in exchange for a chance to re-enter the Hu family. He was really shameless. He had said it so matter-of-factly before, but this plot twist was a slap in the face. The Hu clan had the support of an existence like the Imperial Sect Master behind them. Why would they need to use such a humble method to beg to enter the Hu clan? Moreover, all of this was Huiting's self-righteousness. Yenyang did not want to enter the Hu family at all. Huiting's face was full of shame and embarrassment. He took a step forward, wanting to say something to Hu Yenyang. The latter had already taken a step back and said to them coldly, "Young Master Hu, please." The faces of the Hu family members turned pale. When the family Hu people saw this, their expressions did not change at all. The arrogance of the Hu family was obvious to all. If it wasn't for Yu Sihuang's strength and influence, they wouldn't be able to bear it. Their faces were pale, and they were in despair. It would be their family Hu. Moreover, it was very likely to implicate Luo Qingtong and cause her to get into trouble. How could Hu Zhongtian and the others tolerate this? Luo Qingtong was family Hu's savior. Their expressions were indifferent. The people from the other families who were watching all of this immediately rejoiced in their hearts. Because of the Hu family, they had not been able to make a move previously. Otherwise, they would end up in a worse state than Huiting and his crew. After all, Huiting and the rest were from the top aristocratic families. They weren't like that. While the crowd was rejoicing in their hearts, Wu Ting and his crew had already gritted their teeth, cut off one of their arms, and left dejectedly. Looking at their backs as they left, the Bai family members lying on the ground finally regained their senses. Chapter 1371. Bai Feng's expression was one of madness. She could not believe what she was seeing. How could this be? Behind the Hu clan, there was actually such a strong and powerful figure supporting them. The ruler of the southern region, the leader of the imperial royal sect. How could this be? If family Hu knew such a powerful figure, why was it so difficult for them to deal with Bai Feng and the others? They even needed the help of so many other families. They even set up a trap to expose what Bai Feng and the others had done so that they could deal with the Bai family. What was going on? Perhaps Bai Feng was in disbelief. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She raised her eyebrows and looked at Bai Feng. She transmitted her voice to her, "Are you very surprised?" "That's because I asked him to clean up the aftermath of the voodoo sect's extermination. That was why Yu Sihuang and Yu Xingqi were not around." Luo Qingtong did not expect the Bai family and family whose second elders people to be so suicidal. After she tricked Yu Sihuang into helping her clean up the aftermath, they came to her door to seek their own deaths. Otherwise, why would she need to use so many tricks to deal with them? You! Luo Qingtong's words made Bai Feng's eyes widen. Her eyes bulged out like a dead fish's eyes as she stared at Luo Qingtong. "It's you. You're the one who exterminated the voodoo." Bai Feng screamed in horror. Her voice was sharp. However, before she could utter the words voodoo sect, she suddenly realized that she couldn't utter the words voodoo sect no matter how hard she tried. When she said the word voodoo, her voice was automatically silenced. All that was left was her sharp expression and her lips twitching continuously. "It's you. It's you." Bai Feng screamed crazily. She finally understood why her voodoo sect was exterminated and why the mother of venomous insects in Hu Fei's body was taken out. Not only that, he had also absorbed so much of her power and increased his power. Also, Hu Zhongtian's injuries should not have allowed him to survive. All of this was done by Luo Qingtong. It was this youth called Yi Jiu in front of her that had ruined everything she had carefully planned, all of her plans and ambitions. "Congratulations, you got it right. But there's no reward." Luo Qingtong looked indifferently at Bai Feng's hysterical appearance. The other party was extremely similar to Luo Xining and the others. They always thought that they were the best in the world. He didn't know how to be grateful or how to give back. The Bai family had risen with the help of family Hu, but in the end, they had trampled family Hu to the bottom of the mud. They had stepped on the blood and tears of Yen Yang and family Hu to climb up. Luo Qingtong still said the same thing. She admired a person's ambition, but she didn't appreciate the other party's ingratitude. They were worse than pigs and dogs. "Oh right, I forgot to tell you something. Yen Yang is the general manager that I left behind in the Black Field. I have another name, and that is Evil Dr. Ghost Eye." The moment Luo Qingtong said this, Bai Feng broke down even more and became even crazier. She desperately lay on the ground and shook her head. She wanted to shout out Luo Qingtong's name, but she could not succeed no matter how hard she tried. People could only hear her shouting "impossible" with all her might. They thought that she could not accept that family who had such a strong cultivator as Yu Sihuang behind him. Chapter 1372. Shopkeeper Yen of the Black Field. She was in charge of all the affairs of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye in the Black Field. She was also in charge of all her properties and businesses. In the dark domain, there was no one who did not know about it. Even Bai Feng, who was in the western wilderness, had heard of her. However, no one would have thought that shopkeeper Yen was actually Yen Yang. Ah, ah, ah. Bai Feng screamed hysterically. She could not believe that after scheming her entire life, she had lost everything to Hu Yennyang. Yennyang had an extremely high status in the Black Field. If her identity was exposed, she would be on equal footing with the top aristocratic families. Furthermore, the man she thought she had in her hands, Hua Ting, was also obsessed with Hu Yennyang. Bai Feng was unable to accept this series of blows. Luo Qingtong looked at her crazy appearance and retracted her gaze indifferently. Then, she lifted her leg and kicked her in front of Yennyang. Yennyang, I'll leave her to you. Including these people from the Bai family. As Luo Qingtong spoke, family whose men had already gone over and dragged the surviving members of the Bai family over, throwing them in front of Hu Zhongtian and the rest. Bai Changfeng and the rest, who had been so arrogant just a moment ago, were now either unconscious or barely breathing. They looked at Hu Zhongtian and the rest in shock. They did not know how things had turned out this way. The Hua family was here. Shouldn't they be saved? Bai Feng was the young mistress of the Hua family. The people of the Bai family would never be trampled on by others. However, reality had proven them wrong. The Hua family could not save them. Even when Bai Feng had revealed the fact that family who had the map of the Holy King's tomb in her final moments of despair, she had not been able to save the Bai family from being destroyed. Not only that, the Hua family had also been chased away by family who. This was something that would never happen even in their dreams. However, it was happening right in front of them now. When they saw Bai Feng, who seemed to have lost her mind, the Bai family members' faces were filled with indescribable despair. They had been relying on Bai Feng as their last hope. Now, Bai Feng was clearly going crazy. What did that young man say to her to make her so desperate and crazy? Hu Yennyang could vaguely guess what had happened. To Bai Feng, the thing that could hurt her the most was that she was living a better life than her. Mysteries should have told Bai Feng about her identity and position in the Black region, and even exposed her own name as the demonic physician Ghost Eyes. Otherwise, Bai Feng would not have broken. Speaking of which, Bai Feng was quite pitiful. She had schemed her entire life and was jealous of all the good things she had. She wanted to replace her at all costs. What did she get in the end? She did not gain anything. Hua Ting did not take her seriously at all, and the Bai family would fall apart because of her ambition. Bai family Hua buys Bai families Bai. Otherwise, family who would have been trampled to death by Bai Feng and the Bai family. They would not even know what had happened. Yennyang would have to live in the Black Field with guilt for the rest of her life. She would not know what her father and big brother were going through. No. If he didn't have a master, he wouldn't have to live with guilt. She and Ling Feng would have died in the Blackfield sub-city of Dongli Nation. Yennyang looked at Luo Qingtong gratefully as she thought of this. Chapter 1373. Yu Si Huang walked to Luo Qingtong's side and asked with a smile, "Tong Tong, how was it? Wasn't my performance just now too cool?" As he spoke, he threw a charming look at Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong didn't say anything, but Yu Xingqi, who was holding the little white cat, had already started to mutter. "My eyes," she didn't finish her words, but Yu Si Huang's face had already turned completely black. Yu Xingqi. Following Yu Si Huang's roar, Yu Xingqi had already hugged the little white cat and hid behind Luo Qingtong's back. With a pitiful face, she said, "Sister, look. My brother is going to abuse me again. I'll be your little sister, okay? I don't want such a cruel brother." Yu Si Huang's face turned green when he heard these words. This little witch, in order to be Luo Qingtong's little sister, she really wanted to blacken him to death. Did she think that he wanted a little sister like her who would always cheat him? "Go away from me." He pulled Yu Xingqi aside with a face full of resentment, then looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "Tong Tong, this time I helped you so much, are you really not going to consider giving me a reward? A kiss won't do, a hug or something is also fine. As Yu Si Huang was speaking, Luo Qingtong didn't even have time to open her mouth. The little fox that was originally lying in her arms suddenly jumped up and scratched at Yu Si Huang. It's you again, this fox. Yu Si Huang was smiling as he approached Luo Qingtong. He didn't have any defense in his heart and was almost scratched. When he dodged behind him, he saw that the one who scratched him last time, the little fox that Yi Qianxian gave to Luo Qingtong. He immediately became angry. It's this fox again. Yu Si Huang seriously suspected that Yi Qianxian had trained this fox to scratch him whenever it saw him. Otherwise, why would this fox target him time and time again? And every time, it would interrupt his good deed. Yu Si Huang thought about it and clenched his teeth. He raised his hand to grab the little silver fox. Seeing his palm coming, Yi Qianxian transformed into the little silver fox's fur stood up. The 4 claws on its little paws impressively stretched out. One man and one fox were about to have a big fight, but Luo Qingtong's hand stretched out at this time and blocked Yu Si Huang's attack. She also pulled Yi Qianxian back into her arms. Enough, how old are you? You still can't get along with a little fox. Luo Qingtong's face looked indifferently. The latter's face was filled with resentment. Yi Qianren also snorted coldly. But its little face is the Tong's face fox looked. Wait until he regains his human form, then he will deal with this Yu Si Huang. How dare he approach Luo Qingtong when I'm not here? Yi Qianxian's eyes were cold. He didn't want to bother with Yu Si Huang anymore. He buried his head back into Luo Qingtong's arms. But at this time, Luo Qingtong's voice suddenly rang in his ears. In Bao. Yi Qianxian. Following Luo Qingtong's voice, Yi Qianxian's fur instantly stood up. His whole body stiffened in Luo Qingtong's arms. He didn't know how to react. She found out. She knew that this little fox was him. Chapter 1374. Before he could react, Luo Qingtong, who was on the other side, waited for a while. When Yi Qianren did not react, she suddenly laughed. Hey, what am I thinking? After she said that, she smiled and kissed the silver fox's pink nose. She actually thought that the silver fox was Yi Qianxian. But it wasn't her fault. Who asked this little fox to be able to use Yi Qianxian's power? The power that had been injected into her body was indeed Yi Qianxian's. But now it seemed that it was all because of the ring, right? As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she raised her hand and stroked the 10-directional dragon ring on the silver fox's paw. Then she smiled and retracted her hand. But she didn't know that Yi Qianxian's heart was on a roller coaster ride. It was too exciting. He didn't know what to say. Should he say that he was too shocked to react? Otherwise, if he had answered Luo Qingtong when she called his name, he would have been exposed. Yi Qianxian's heart was filled with indescribable joy. He was being kept as a pet by his own woman, and was even being tamed. He would hide it in his heart for the rest of his life. He would never say it out loud. Luo Qingtong's attention had returned to the Bai family. She looked at the terrified Bai family members and said to Hu Yannyang and the others, "Take them all back for interrogation, no matter how big or small, everything must be clarified. Especially the matter of sending Bai Jintang to Fenghua City. Just who did it? Find out everything. Also, I want all the details about the sage monarch's tomb." Family who had been far away from the center of Wild City for too long. They had almost lost their status as a mid-level family, so they didn't know as much as the Bai family. If that wasn't the case, they would have known that the item in their hands was the map of the sage monarch's tomb. It was only after the Bai family came knocking on their door that they were able to confirm it. If he had known in advance, family who could have sought refuge with a top-notch family, he would not have been afraid of the Bai family's threat at all. Moreover, he wouldn't have been forced to the brink of destruction by the Bai family. Although the Bai clan was only a middle-ranked clan, with the support of the White Phoenix Voodoo sect, the Bai clan's foundation actually far surpassed that of ordinary middle-ranked clans. They already had the qualifications to aspire to be a top-ranked clan. Coupled with Bai Feng's presence in the Huo clan, she would definitely know more about the Saint Monarch's tomb than the average person. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't miss this opportunity to inquire about information. She wanted to find out why the Ouyang clan wanted to announce the location of the Saint King's tomb. Was there something involved in all of this? Luo Qingtong and the others left with the Bai family's people. After Luo Qingtong and the others left the Bai family, the people from the other families who had followed them to the Bai family also left after wreaking havoc in the Bai family. They didn't find anything valuable in the Bai family. All of the Bai family's hidden treasures had already been looted when Luo Qingtong sneaked into the Bai family. The things that were left behind were just some deceptive and worthless things. Not only that, Luo Qingtong also left behind all kinds of evidence of the Bai family's crimes. It also included the news that the Voodoo sect belonged to the Bai family. Chapter 1375. But others didn't know about it. Moreover, the Bai family had benefited a lot from the Voodoo sect. These things couldn't be washed away. As for the Huo family, they were also implicated in this. This was because Bai Feng had used the Voodoo sect to do many things for the Huo family in order to raise their status. Previously, all of these things had been attributed to the Bai family. Now that it was exposed, all the families in Wilderness City looked at the Huo family with strange gazes. As for the Huo family, they almost wanted to eat Bai Feng alive. Not to mention that Hu Ting and the others who went to the Bai family had all broken an arm when they returned. Not only that, none of the elite disciples had returned. All of them were killed by Yu Sihuang. In the eyes of the Huo family, this was all Bai Feng's fault. If the other party had told them clearly that the family who had the whereabouts of the map of the sage monarch's tomb, they would have been able to obtain it. They would have obtained the map of the sage monarch's tomb long ago. How would they have provoked a powerhouse like Yu Sihuang to come and support the family who? It made the Huo family the target of public criticism. Not only did their reputation among the small families in Wilderness City plummet, but several Huo family elders and Hu Ting's arms were also crippled. Even though their family had the best medicine that could reattach their arms, they were unable to do so. But to recover to the point where they could use their arms as freely as before, who knew how much time they would need to recuperate and train? It's really a woman's fault. In the Huo family, the Huo family head was furious. It was not only because the Huo family's reputation had been damaged, but also because the duck meat in his mouth had flown away. The map of the sage monarch's tomb. According to the Ouyang family, there were a total of 4 incomplete maps of the sage monarch's tomb. Together, it was the complete map of the sage monarch's tomb. Those who had the map of the sage monarch's tomb would naturally have the advantage when entering the tomb in the future. The Huo family had almost obtained the map of the sage monarch's tomb, but in the end, they missed it. It really made people feel indignant. If Bai Feng and the others had not been captured by Hu Zhongtian and the others and taken into the family who was rescued and brought back to the Huo family, would not have had a good time. The Huo family head wished he could tear her apart now. After throwing a tantrum, Patriarch Huo coldly looked at the group of Huo family elders beside him and said, "Have you found out? Why is the Imperial sect master so protective of family Hu?" She had never heard of family Hu being involved with the royal family. When family Hu was weak, no forces in the southern region extended a helping hand to them. Now that the Imperial sect master was so supportive of family Hu, it was really inconceivable. Reporting to Lord, the matter has been investigated clearly. Everything is related to that young man called Yi Zhou. The other party seems to be on good terms with Chu Lingfeng, addressing Chu Lingfeng as Big Brother. When he was outside the city gate, he used the imperial family sect's guardian token to help Chu Lingfeng escape. According to the information we found, the man who was following beside Yi Jiu with a veil hat covering his face should be the sect master of the imperial sect. He should be the one who gave Chu Lingfeng the Great Altar Protector's decree to help him escape. As the top family in Wild City, the Huo family naturally knew what happened in Wild City like the back of their hand. They did not care before because they felt that there was no need to care. Chapter 1376. With just a little bit of attention, all the information related to family who was presented to him. Yi Zhou. The Huo family head looked through the information in his hands, but he had no impression of this name. However, the Sky Spill continent was vast and filled with talents. Unless it was someone as amazing as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, it was impossible for everyone in the 4 regions to have heard of them. Otherwise, it was understandable that they didn't know of some talents. However, since the other party was familiar with the leader of the imperial sect and was able to obtain the protection of the other party, the people of the Hu clan were really lucky. Humph. I didn't think that Hu Yennyang, who gave birth to such a foolish son, would have such luck to be able to meet such a person who is familiar with the imperial family sect master. The Huo family head coldly snorted. The others were listening at the side, but none of them made a sound. When Hu Yennyang was schemed against and lost her virginity, with the Huo family's ability, they could see that something was wrong. However, the Huo family head didn't want the Huo family's reputation to be damaged, so he pinned the crime of adultery on Hu Yennyang. This caused Hu Yennyang to be spurned by everyone in Wild City, and even more so by the Hu clan. Hu Zhongtian was forced to settle her outside and couldn't bring her back to family Hu to take care of her. If it weren't for this, Hu Yennyang wouldn't have had such a miserable life. And between the Huo family and family Hu, there wouldn't have been no chance of redemption. Especially after snatching the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, they were no different from enemies. And all of this was because the Huo family head had been too ruthless. However, in front of him, no one dared to say that he was wrong at the time. The Huo family head seemed to be able to sense everyone's emotions. He coldly snorted and said, "Have someone contact this Yi Jiu and see if we can make peace. Also, have someone prepare. I'm going to visit the patriarchs of the other top families." If that Yi Jiu didn't know what was good for him, then don't blame the Huo family for being impolite. Even if the Huo clan could not monopolize the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, they could not be excluded from it. If the other party wanted to help family Hu wholeheartedly, then he could only join forces with the other top families to force the other party to hand over the map. Otherwise, the Huo family would be the unlucky ones in the end. He would absolutely not allow that to happen. Although the imperial sect master was powerful, his status in the southern region was also very high. However, the far west desolate region was not his home ground in the end. The forces of the southern mountain range were willing to work for him, but they might not be willing to work for family Hu. At that time, he would join forces with the other top clans. He didn't believe that they would be able to resist. As the Huo family head thought of this, he immediately snorted coldly and went to prepare. In family Hu, Luo Qingtong was also listening to Hu Yennyang's report. "Master, the Bai family's mouth has been pried open." Hu Yennyang said. According to Bai Changfeng, they went to Fenghua City for the enlightened purple jade fruit and the thunder beast. They were prepared for an expert from the hidden world. The other party didn't say which sect he was a disciple of. He only said that he was out to gain experience. Bai Changfeng and the others put in a lot of effort to get in touch with this person. Chapter 1377. Mistress, the other party is from the hidden world. I'm afraid they aren't easy to provoke. Hu Yennyang said to Luo Qingtong with a worried expression. Before she met Luo Qingtong, she basically didn't know about the existence of the hidden world. But after she met Luo Qingtong and helped her manage the Blackfield mansion, she gradually began to understand these matters. From this, Hu Yannyang realized just how vast the world was, and just how vast and boundless the sky's spill continent was. In the eyes of ordinary people, the four great sacred dynasties were giants that were difficult to reach. But in the sky's spill continent, they were only a small corner of the eastern domain. As for the hidden world, it was said that the sects and influences there were even above the influences of the sky's spill continent. The powerhouses that cultivated there, if taken out, were enough to crush the powerhouses of the sky's spill continent. After learning that the things that the Bai family had prepared were actually prepared for the people of the hidden world, Hu Yannyang was immediately worried. She had already killed everyone from the Bai family, but she was afraid that the other party would have other means to trace the whereabouts of the Purple Heart Fruit and Thunder Beast. Hidden World. Luo Qingtong's eyebrows arched up. The Bai family was actually able to establish contact with the people of the hidden world. This really surprised her. However, she would deal with whatever came her way. She had already done what she had to do. Moreover, even if she didn't steal the Purple Heart Fruit and Thunder Beast that the Bai family had prepared for the other party, with the help of the Bai family, the other party would inevitably confront her. Since that was the case, what else was there to worry about? She would wait until the other party came. Yes, I know about that. What else? Luo Qingtong looked at Hu Yannyang. What about the Saint Monarch's tomb? I managed to pry out the information about the Saint Monarch's tomb from Bai Feng's mouth. It is said that the Ouyang family suddenly announced this information without any warning. Moreover, they promised that besides the families that have the map, those without the map can still enter the Saint Monarch's tomb to try their luck. Mistress, the Ouyang family's behavior is very strange. They seem to be deliberately tempting others to enter the Saint Monarch's tomb. Hu Yannyang looked at Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. Indeed. Others didn't know that because they didn't have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. But Luo Qingtong knew that the 4 pieces of the Saint King's tomb incomplete map would only show the paths and mechanisms in the tomb in greater detail. But a single map to enters tomb Saint Monarch. The saint s the tomb, t s the mapsis. It would not be a hindrance to finding the tomb itself. If it weren't for the family whose matter and the Ouyang family's announcement of the Saint Monarch's tomb's map, Luo Qingtong might have already entered the Saint Monarch's tomb with Yu Sihuang and the others. But now that the Ouyang family's people had announced the Saint Monarch's tomb's news to the public, she couldn't act as she thought before, lest she ended up benefiting others. She wanted to see what kind of medicine the Ouyang family had up their sleeves. Continue to inquire about the Ouyang family. By the way, before and after they announced this news, help me see if anything special happened in their family. Chapter 1378. Master, before the Ouyang family announced the news, they sought medical help from the outside world. The young master of the Ouyang family suddenly contracted a strange illness. At that time, all the alchemists in the wild city saw it, but they were helpless. In the end, a man in white with a cloak took down the notice and cured the young master of the Ouyang family. Not long after that, the Ouyang family gathered all the families in the wild city and announced the news about the Saint King's tomb. I don't know if it has anything to do with this, Hu Yannyang said. She knew about this because Hu Zhongtian had told her about it in advance. After the man in white cured the young master of the Ouyang family, he had also gone to seek medical help from the other party. He wanted the other party to help treat Hu Fei, but he was rejected. Not long after Hu Zhongtian returned to family Hu, the hidden danger of broken bones in his body broke out, and he fell ill. After that, the Ouyang family gathered all the families in the wild city and announced the news about the Saint King's tomb to the public. Because Hu Zhongtian was seriously ill, and family whose strength had faintly fallen to that of an intermediate family. No one told him about this news. If Bai Feng had not recognized the map of the Saint King's tomb that was announced by the Ouyang family and the item that family whose people had obtained, she would have gone to force them to ask for it. Hu Zhongtian probably did not know about the Saint King's tomb. Because it was a gift from a man, he had been too sad and kept it sealed. He did not want to know what was inside. Because no matter how many things and compensations he had, he could not get his Yen Yang back. Because this incident happened before the Ouyang family announced the news about the Saint King's tomb, and because there was nothing suspicious, it did not attract too much attention. If it was not because Luo Qingtong asked about it, and because Hu Zhongtian's request for medical help was still fresh in her memory, Hu Yennyang would not have remembered this incident. Wearing white with a cloak, Luo Qingtong's index finger tapped on the table. Did your father see that person's face? I'm not too sure about that. Hu Yennyang looked at Luo Qingtong and said, I'll call my father here for you, master. Okay. Luo Qingtong nodded gently, then raised her hand to gently stroke the little fox's little head. Seeing its listless face, she immediately smiled and said, What's wrong? Is it not fun? Why are you unhappy? Yi Qianxian looked at her face, looked sad. He felt that in the time he spent with Luo Qingtong recently, he was on the same level as Yu Sihuang, that idiot. She did not know why he was unhappy. Yi Qianxian's life was an indescribable. It raised its paw and pulled at a big red flower that was clipped by its ear. Yes. It's a big red flower. Not only that, on the little fox's small body, there was a small silver vest, embroidered with very cute cartoon characters. There was also a small silver bell around her neck. She looked extremely adorable. However, Yi Qianqian's heart collapsed. He had lived for more than 20 years, he was used to seeing blood and wind, used to being high and mighty, the majestic, domineering, calm and cold black field. Ming Zun never thought that he would have such a look. Bei Qing. Elder you. Just you wait. Yi Qianqian's face was full of anger. Chapter 1379. Luo Qingtong thought the silver fox was getting impatient, so she adjusted the red flower on its ear. Then, she called for the family who guards outside and asked them to take the silver fox out to play. But Yi Qianxian would rather die than submit. What a joke. He was tamed like a pet by this woman, and it was okay to tease him like this. But if he was treated like this by someone else, he would kill them. Naughty little thing. Seeing the silver fox clinging onto her clothes with its claws, Luo Qingtong felt helpless and amused. She had never had a pet before, so she didn't know pets were such a troublesome little thing. Or was it that the little fox that Yi Qianren gave him was special? But it was Yi Qianxian who gave it to her, and it had the same eyes as the man. Otherwise, Luo Qingtong wouldn't have been so patient. Okay. Let me play with you. That man really knew how to choose a gift. Choosing a little fox like this was because it was as arrogant and difficult to please as he was. But Luo Qingtong smiled as she watched the silver fox chase after the tiger she had modified. They ran around the house and chased after each other, which made her very happy. Such a lively and mischievous personality, it was completely different from Yi Qianmin. Luo Qingtong smiled and supported her forehead with her hand as she thought. She didn't know Yi Qianqian's heart was also very difficult to describe. When he was with other people, he was able to suppress the nature of the little fox's body. But when he was with Luo Qingtong, he didn't know if it was because of his instinct to relax in front of this woman, or if it was because of some other reason, but the nature of the little fox's body was completely exposed. He was like a wild horse that had escaped its reins. Yi Qianqian's heart twitched, and he didn't want to see himself like this. Ah! The silver fox leaped in front of the cloth tiger and used its claws to hold down the fake tiger that was running around. Then, the silver fox roared in front of the cloth tiger, jumped on it, and bit it. It was as if he was really fighting with a big tiger. Luo Qingtong could not help but laugh. Even Hu Yannyang couldn't help but laugh when she saw how cute the silver fox was. This little fox was simply too adorable. He wondered where his master had found her. Moreover, his strength seemed to be very strong. Previously, when Hu Yannyang was at the family Hu Hall, he had seen the little fox make a move in an emergency. It had almost sent great-granduncle flying with a swipe of its paw. This wasn't the strength of an ordinary demon beast. Even the cubs of sacred beasts didn't have such strength. Could it be that this little fox was the cub of a divine beast? And it's a super high-level one. As Hu Yannyang was thinking about this, the silver fox, which had been attacking the cloth tiger for a while, returned to Luo Qingtong's side with its lute. Oh! It barked at Luo Qingtong and then raised its paw to pat the little cloth tiger in front of it. For me. Luo Qingtong looked at the silver fox. Oh! The silver fox roared again, as if it was answering her. Luo Qingtong couldn't help but pick up the little guy and kiss him. Good boy. Ha ha ha. I like it. Chapter 1380. Yi Qianxian did not expect his young fox body to have such a reaction. So, even if he had become an animal, he still instinctively loved this woman. He wanted to give her the best thing he had. Yi Qianxian was thinking when Hu Zhongtian's voice came from outside. Young master. Hu Zhongtian's figure came in from outside. Hu Fei also came with him. Although Hu Yannyang sent someone to say that Luo Qingtong was looking for Hu Zhongtian, Hu Fei thought that he might be able to help. So he came with them. Father, big brother. Hu Yannyang called out to them. Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei nodded at her, then looked at Luo Qingtong. Young master, are you looking for me? Hu Zhongtian said to Luo Qingtong. I want to ask you, when you went to the Ouyang family to seek medical treatment, did you see the face of the man in white? Luo Qingtong had a feeling that the other party might be related to the Ouyang family's sudden announcement of the Saint King's tomb. Otherwise, the young master of the Ouyang family would have fallen sick when the Ouyang family announced the news of the Saint King's tomb. This matter might not be related in the eyes of others, but in Luo Qingtong's eyes, it was not necessarily so. If there was really someone behind the Ouyang family and told them about the Saint King's tomb, then using the opportunity of the Ouyang family seeking medical treatment to enter and contact them was the most inconspicuous way. After all, if they could investigate the Ouyang family before and after the announcement of the Saint King's tomb, how could others not investigate? However, it was normal for the young master of the Ouyang family to seek medical treatment for a strange illness. Basically, no one would pay attention to this matter. Not to mention that it would be related to the Ouyang family's announcement of the Saint King's tomb. Luo Qingtong thought so and suddenly narrowed her eyes slightly. That man in white must be strange. Yes. Hu Zhongtian nodded at this time. Previously, I was anxious to seek medical treatment for Fei. Although the other party rejected me, in the end, I still rushed into the Ouyang family and saw that person. But I only took one look before I was taken out by the people of the Ouyang family. Hu Zhongtian recalled the scene at that time. He had been too impulsive back then. However, Hu Fei had been unconscious and paralyzed in bed for more than 10 years without waking up. Now that a very powerful person had suddenly appeared in the Ouyang family and cured young Master Ouyang's strange illness, Hu Fei was naturally unwilling to give up so easily and made a final gamble. Although he did not succeed in the end, he saw the face of the white-robed man. Okay, draw his face, Luo Qingtong said. Okay. Hu Zhongtian nodded and then asked someone to prepare a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone for him. Not long after, the family guards who had been ordered to retrieve the items returned. Hu Zhongtian took the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone from the other party's hand and spread the paper in front of Luo Qingtong. Then, he drew the face of the man in white on it. Looking at the face of the man in white that Hu Zhongtian drew, Luo Qingtong's face was slightly shocked. Then, she laughed. It's actually her. Master, do you know this person? Hu Yenyang looked at the face drawn by Hu Zhongtian and asked. Not only do we know each other, but we are very close. Chapter 1381. Weren't they familiar with each other? Luo Qingtong looked at the face on the paper. Who else could it be but Feng Wuan in disguise? Heavenly Doctor, Luo Qingtong chuckled. She did not expect that the other party had also come to the far west wilderness. Should it be said that enemies meet on a narrow path? However, was the information that the Ouyang clan knew about the Saint King's tomb actually provided by the other party? If so, what was her conspiracy? Luo Qingtong and Feng Wuan had fought back and forth several times. She knew that she was not a person who would shoot without thinking. Since she had found the Ouyang family to cooperate, she must have a motive. She just did not know what she was after. Things were really getting more and more interesting. Luo Qingtong's lips curled into a smile, and her face was full of interest. She originally thought that Feng Wuan would hide and practice desperately after she had broken the method of seizing luck on Mo Qinxian. She did not expect that she had come to the far west wilderness and had a relationship with the Ouyang family. Not only that, it seemed that she was also after the Saint King's tomb. This was interesting. It seemed that this trip to the Saint King's tomb was very lively. While Luo Qingtong's lips were smiling, in the Ouyang family, Feng Wuan, who had disguised himself as the Heavenly Doctor, had also received news about the map of the Saint King's tomb. You mean, a map of the Saint King's tomb has appeared? In the main hall of the Ouyang family's main courtyard, Feng Wuan was dressed as a woman. His face was disguised as the Heavenly Doctor. He looked very delicate and beautiful, and it was hard to tell whether he was a man or a woman. However, she did not have Luo Qingtong's unique demonic and domineering aura. Her face, which was both male and female, was beautiful but did not have a trace of spirituality. She looked like an overly delicate plastic flower. In terms of temperament, he was too feminine. However, the young master of the Ouyang family next to him looked at him with a face full of obsession. That's right. We've received news that the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb is in the family Hu. As he spoke, he recounted everything that had happened in family Hu recently. Then, he asked Feng Wuan, Holy Doctor, what should we do next? Do we have to wait for the other two maps to appear? But according to the current situation, no one knows where the two maps are. Now that we have two maps, can we start exploring the Sage Monarch's tomb? Ouyang family head said as he looked at Feng Wuan. The latter had suddenly appeared in Wild City some time ago. At that time, his son, the young master of the Ouyang family, was suffering from a strange illness. The Ouyang family put out a notice to seek treatment, and the other party came and cured his son's strange illness. Not only that, but he also took out a map of the Sage Monarch's tomb, told them about the tomb, and asked for their cooperation. The Ouyang family head naturally wouldn't refuse such a beneficial thing for the family. Thus, the two sides began to cooperate. The various abilities and medicinal skills that Feng Yuan displayed also made the head of the Ouyang family attach great importance to her. This time, she was the one who brought the news of the Sage Monarch's tomb. Therefore, he naturally had to ask for her opinion. Yi Zhou, hearing the Ouyang family head's description of family Hu, Feng Yuan's brows furrowed slightly. She had never heard of the other party's name before. How could he be so capable? Not only did he cure Hu Zhongtian's injury, but he also cured Hu Fei's strange illness. Let's not talk about the latter. Chapter 1382. At that time, she saw the illness in his body and it was absolutely untreatable. If he himself was like this, there was no need to talk about his son. Lying in bed for more than 10 years, it must be a very troublesome strange illness. Feng Wuan couldn't even treat his injury, naturally she wouldn't treat his son's strange illness. Otherwise, even if she cured his son, so what? If she couldn't cure him, she would be questioned by others. Thinking of this, she rejected him at that time. She didn't expect that there was someone who cured his injury, not only that, he also cured his son's illness. That Yi Zhou, where did he come from? In this world, other than her and evil Dr. Gui Tong, there was someone who had such godly medical skills at such a young age. Thinking of this, Feng Wuan's eyes suddenly focused. Wait. She looked at Ouyang family head and said, "You just said that behind them is the king of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands." Mentioning Yu Sihuang, Feng Wuan's eyes turned cold. Not for anything else, she had previously received news that the reason why Yu Sihuang was banned by the Blackfield, not allowing him to step into the eastern region's territory, especially the Blackfield city, was all because of evil Dr. Gui Tong. It was said that the other party had fallen in love with evil Dr. Gui Tong and went to the Blackfield city to confess. That was why he was chased out of the Blackfield city by Ming Zun and then banned by the entire city. Thinking of this, Feng Wuan clenched her teeth. Although the king of the southern region's 3 islands and 7 lands wasn't as good as Yi Qianxian, he was still a rare expert. Not only that, after his heart disease was cured, his strength and potential soared rapidly, and in the future, he would be the king of the southern region. For such a person to fall in love with evil Dr. Gui Tong, Feng Wuan couldn't help but grit her teeth until they broke. Although she only set her eyes on Yi Qianxian, it didn't mean that she didn't want other men to fall in love with her. Especially Yu Sihuang, no matter if it was strength or status, he was an existence that far surpassed the average expert. In the end, the other party actually liked Luo Qingtong. When Feng Wuan found out about this, he almost smashed the main hall of his princess residence. Now that he heard the news of the other party, plus the Yi Zhou's medical skills were so powerful, a trace of haze appeared in Feng Wuan's eyes. Family whose daughter, what did you say her name was? Hu Yinyang. Ouyang family head and the others didn't know why she asked these questions, but they still answered truthfully. Saint Doctor, do you know her? Seeing that Feng Wuan's eyes suddenly shrank after hearing Hu Yinyang's name, and his mood fluctuated greatly, the head of the Ouyang family immediately asked. No. I don't know her. Feng Wuan said coldly, his eyes cold. But I know her master. Swallow, Hu Yinyang, shopkeeper Yen. They both had the word Yen, plus the youth called Yi Zhou's medical skills, and Yu Sihuang's existence. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? Feng Wuan was almost certain that the youth called Yi Zhou was evil Dr. Gui Tong. The other party knew how to hide, to actually hide his name and come to the far west wilderness. He should also be here for the Saint King's tomb, right? Just in time. Evil Dr. Gui Tong. I've lost to you a few times before. Now, let's settle our old grudges together. Feng Wuan's eyes were cold, and his face was full of resentment. Chapter 1383. Not far from it. Ouyang family head said, at that time, Bai Feng from the Bai family revealed everything in front of all the families present. Now, almost everyone in Wild City knows that the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb is with family Hu. However, with the king of the 3 islands and 7 lands in the southern region around, no one dares to touch family Hu. In other words, if there were no accidents, the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb would belong to family Hu. No one dared to snatch it. However, how could she fulfill Ghost Eye's wish so easily? Feng Wuan sneered. Of course, she would let him enter the Saint Monarch's tomb. Otherwise, how could she be worthy of her plan? But the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. She would just hand it over obediently. She would not let her enter the Saint Monarch's tomb in such a grand manner. She would just wait to be crushed by the top forces in Wild City. She would just wait to see her in a sorry state. With that thought in mind, Feng Wuan suddenly said to Ouyang family head, "If I'm not wrong, the Yi Jiu should be one of my enemies. Anyone can have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, but the Hu clan can't have it. Help me contact the Hu family. Give these medicinal liquids to them." Didn't the elders and young master of their family have one hand crippled by Yu Huang? These medicinal liquids can restore their hand to its original state. I only have one request, and that is to not let family who have the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. I think you will help me, Ouyang family head. Feng Wuan looked at Ouyang family head who was sitting at the head of the hall. For such a small matter, our Ouyang family will naturally satisfy the holy doctor's request. Ouyang family head agreed to her request almost without any hesitation. It was just a mere family who. It was not a big deal. Moreover, Feng Wuan was not asking the Ouyang family to directly confront the other party. Wasn't there still the Hu family? If they could get the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, the other party would be very willing to deal with family Hu. Furthermore, the Ouyang family could use this opportunity to make some requests to the Hu family. These were all real benefits. Not only could they satisfy Feng Wuan's request, but they could also obtain the corresponding benefits. Why wouldn't their Ouyang family agree? Yes. Lord Holy Doctor, don't worry. We will definitely avenge you. As for Yi Jiu and the Hu clan, we will definitely teach them a lesson for you. Beside Feng Wuan, the young master of the Ouyang clan said eagerly. He was mesmerized by Feng Wuan the moment he saw him. In order to better control the Ouyang family, the latter revealed her identity as a woman when she first entered the Ouyang family. The strange illness that the young master of the Ouyang clan contracted was also Feng Wuan's handiwork. It was all so that he could enter the Ouyang clan without attracting attention and cooperate with them. Now, with just a little trick, the other party couldn't leave her. It provided Feng Wuan with a lot of convenience in the Ouyang family. Hearing his words, Feng Wuan immediately smiled at him and said, "Thank you, young master and family head." Feng Wuan's words made the young master of the Ouyang family very satisfied. Looking at the infatuated look in his eyes, Feng Wuan felt disdainful and very proud at the same time. Her charm was indeed not something that could be resisted by ordinary people. Unfortunately, Ming Zun of the Black Field was bewitched by the B*TCH evil Dr. Ghost Eye first. Otherwise, why would he turn a blind eye to her? Feng Wuan gritted her teeth in her heart. She wanted to see how evil Dr. Ghost Eye would be unlucky this time. Chapter 1384. Beiqing, Feng Yu. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at the group of people in front of her. Meanwhile, Beiqing, Feng Yu, and the others were also staring at her blankly. More accurately, he was looking at the incomparably adorable little fox in her arms. Oh my God! Beiqing, Feng Yu, and the rest groaned in their hearts. They never thought that Luo Qingtong would dress Yi Qianxian up like this. Master! Master, we really didn't do it on purpose. Master! The group of people looked at the little fox lying in Luo Qingtong's arms and looking at them coldly. Their hearts trembled and they wailed. Especially Beiqing, after he sent Yi Qianxian to Luo Qingtong's place, he vaguely felt that something was wrong. But he was too dense. Although he felt something, he couldn't figure out what was wrong. When Feng Yu returned from outside and heard about this, he was so shocked that he almost fell to the ground. Beiqing, this idiot. Master is a little fox. He sent Yi Qianxian to the evil doctor and said that it was a gift from Master. Wouldn't the evil doctor keep Master as a pet? Pig! Even if Master wanted to stay by the evil doctor's side, he definitely wouldn't do it in such a way. Master would probably want to avoid the evil doctor in this way. How could he send Master to the evil doctor's side? Feng Yu couldn't bear to imagine what would happen to Bei Qing and the rest. He only hoped that Master's life at the evil doctor's side wouldn't be so bad and that he would be more benevolent. Otherwise, they would have to wear that eyesore makeup and be a ladyboy for the rest of their lives. Feng Yu's lips twitched. After Bei Qing heard what he said, he instantly understood what he had vaguely sensed, that something was amiss: his gaze. His gaze. When he brought Master to the evil doctor, Master's gaze was as if he wanted to chop him up. To think that he had thought that Master was warning them not to reveal his identity. Oh my God. Bei Qing felt like she was going to die. Especially when he looked at Yi Qianxian, who was dressed up to look cute and obedient, with a gorgeous red flower pinned on his head, and felt his master's cold gaze, which was even colder than the cold wind. This feeling became even more intense. Master! Master, I was wrong, Master. Bei Qing felt that she was about to be cut into pieces by her master's gaze. Luo Qingtong noticed the strange looks they were giving the silver fox. She raised an eyebrow and asked, "What is it? Why are you staring at Silver Bao?" Silver Baby, hearing Luo Qingtong's name for Yi Qianxian, Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others' mouths twitched even more. They didn't dare to stare at Yi Qianxian anymore, in case Luo Qingtong noticed something. If that happened, they would die even more miserably. The group of people immediately averted their gazes. Ahem. Evil doctor, it's like this. Feng Yu coughed lightly and looked past her master's eyesore. She looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "Master sent us to fetch Silver Bao back. Please return it to me for the time being." Feng Yu's face was full of bitterness as she said this. Oh my God. Bei Qing and the others had made such a big mistake. Giving Master to the evil doctor as a pet. When Master returned to her human form, where were they going to find Silver Bao to return to the evil doctor? This was simply a scam. Chapter 1385. Feng Yu's heart was filled with bitterness, but he didn't dare to show it on his face. Yi Qianxian wants to bring it back. Why? Luo Qingtong felt strange. Wasn't this little fox a gift from Yi Qianxian? Ahem. We don't know either. That's what Master told us, Feng Yu said. His face was calm and his words were watertight. Bei Qing stood beside him and didn't dare to make a sound. She was afraid that Luo Qingtong would notice something was wrong. Then, they would be dead. They would be dead. There was no way to save them. In the face of such a strong sense of danger, Bei Qing's stupid and careless personality was surprisingly good. She didn't reveal anything. Luo Qingtong nodded. She thought that Yi Qianxian probably wanted to bring the little fox back for something. Not to mention other things, the little fox's claws were still wearing that man's ring. Maybe it was because of that. Luo Qingtong thought about it and immediately let go of the little fox in her arms. Alright, you guys can take it away. Silver Bao, be good. I'll wait for you to come back. Luo Qingtong kissed the little fox's nose and handed it over to Bei Qing and Feng Yu. The latter and the others didn't dare to look at the interaction between Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian. They were afraid that Master would punish them when they returned. Master actually interacted with the evil doctor like this after turning into a fox. Oh my God. Bei Qing, Feng Yu, and the others suddenly felt that their lives would be very difficult when they returned. Especially when Luo Qingtong handed a pile of Silver Bao's toys to Feng Yu. The latter's expression was so stiff that he couldn't even look at it. Master's toys. Wind Feather looked at those little cloth tigers, little cloth lions, little cloth bears in her hands with a horrified expression on her face. There were also a few grasshoppers with broken wings. They were locked in a transparent jade bottle and given to him. The faces of Feng Yu and Bei Qing stiffened. Especially when they saw the bite marks on the little cloth tiger's body, the expressions on everyone's faces became even more horrified. Was this really Master's bite? Everyone's expression was very stiff. When Luo Qingtong saw the cloth tiger, she seemed to remember something and immediately picked it out. Silver Baby has already given this little cloth tiger to me. I won't take it back. Luo Qingtong smiled at the silver fox, which had been placed into a basket by Bei Qing and Wind Feather. Silver Baby, I'll wait for you to come back so we can play together. As she spoke, she shook the small cloth tiger in her hand. Yi Qianxian stared at him blankly. He really didn't know what to say. Other than this woman, who else could treat him as another venerable and raise him as a pet? It was this woman. If it were anyone else, he would definitely not allow them to treat him like this. Ow ow. Seeing Luo Qingtong staring at him, as if waiting for his response, Yi Qianxian was very depressed. But in order not to expose himself, he still opened his mouth and called out to the girl twice to show that he understood. As for playing with her when he came back, he would play with her himself. But definitely not with these toys. Chapter 1386. Then, Evil Doctor, we'll be leaving first. Bei Qing, Wind Feather, and the others bowed to Luo Qingtong with cold sweat on their foreheads. Then, they led Yi Qianxian away. After they were far away from Wild City, the group of people lifted the cloth covering the basket and knelt on the ground, begging for forgiveness, Master. Please forgive us, Master. Humph. Yi Qianxian coldly snorted and straightened his body from the small basket. The figure that was squatting in the basket was still small and cute, but the aura that it exuded was extremely powerful and incomparable. It was completely different from the cute and obedient attitude that it had in front of Luo Qingtong. Yi Qianxian lifted his claws and pulled down the big red flower on his head. He was a dignified underworld revered, who knew what he looked like when he wore this big red flower. Yi Qianxian clenched his teeth and pulled down the flower. He originally wanted to crush it. But as he thought of Luo Qingtong's happy smile when she put this flower on his head, he coldly snorted and retracted his claws. He grabbed the flower and threw it to the other side of the basket. Then, he pulled down the cute cartoon vest on his cub's body. He didn't know what was embroidered on it. It had a short body, a big round head, and eyes that took up almost 2/3 of its face. What kind of monster was this? Yi Qianxian studied the cartoon pattern on the vest for a long time. He didn't know what Luo Qingtong had drawn. Within the Sky Spill continent, he was very familiar with all the monster beasts in the outer realms. There were very few monster beasts that he didn't recognize. What did Luo Qingtong draw that he couldn't recognize? However, this appearance was a bit like his own cub form. He felt that the woman had changed the proportions of his cub's body. Yi Qianxian stared at the small vest for a while. Then, he pulled it to the side and placed it together with the big red flower. Then, he stretched out his claws and pulled at the small bell around his neck. The bell was tied with a thin golden ribbon around the neck of Yi Qianxian's cub body. The bell was silver and was especially delicate and beautiful. It floated around the neck of Yi Qianxian's cub body, perfectly complementing its smooth silver fur. On the back of the bell, there were 2 characters engraved, Silver Treasure. It was clearly Luo Qingtong's handwriting. Yi Qianxian was short and his claws were short. He couldn't pull it open for a long time, but he didn't want to tear the bell's ribbon. Not for any other reason. Although he didn't like it, it was still Luo Qingtong's heart, he couldn't pull it. Feng Yu, who was kneeling in front of him, carefully looked up at him and said, "Master, let me do it." Yi Qianxian coldly snorted and didn't speak. He put down his claws. Feng Yu hurriedly went forward and removed the belt. Bei Qing originally wanted to help, but he was pulled back by Yi Qianren's claw. Yi Qianxian was still angry. He didn't want to bother with Bei Qing at all. The latter had a sad face. In his heart, he was cursing Elder Yu who had tricked him into sending Yi Qianxian to Luo Qingtong. That smelly old man, what kind of enmity did he have with him? He tricked him like this. Chapter 1387. While Bei Qing continued to kneel on the ground with an aggrieved expression, Feng Yu had already helped Yi Qianxian untie the belt and placed it together with the bell on the pile of things beside Yi Qianxian. Master, it's done. Yi Qianxian glanced at him coldly. He wanted to say something, but then he remembered that he was now a fox cub. If he opened his mouth, he would sound like a cub. He immediately shut his mouth and raised his claws to draw on the ground, then let Feng Yu take a look. Feng Yu came over and saw a few lines of words written on the ground. This matter is forbidden to speak of. Anyone who speaks of it will be killed without mercy. Yi Qianxian's last 3 words were written with a murderous aura. The sharp killing intent and coldness seemed to penetrate through those few words and rush towards him like a golden spear and armored horse. Yes. Feng Yu and the others quickly responded. They knew that Yi Qianxian must have specially warned them to not let the evil doctor know. The corners of everyone's lips twitched as well. With their master's current state, how would they dare to let the evil doctor know the truth? It's not like he was tired of living. The group all responded. Yi Qianxian's cold gaze swept past them, then he wrote a few more words on the ground. Where's Elder Yu? His last question was spoken with great force, showing the anger in his heart. Yi Qianxian had heard clearly before that it was Elder Yu who suggested to send him to Luo Qingtong for that fool Bei Qing. At that time, the demon fox blood curse in his body had just taken effect, and his body was very weak. He had no way to resist at all, and Bei Qing had carried him to Luo Qingtong with a basket. He had to settle the score with him now. Yes, master. Feng Yu quickly said, Elder Yu is in the main city. This time, we were ordered by Elder Yu to bring you back. He found a way to speed up your absorption of the heavenly fox blood essence and break the blood curse. At this point, Feng Yu couldn't help but cough lightly. To be honest, if it wasn't for this, they wouldn't have dared to come and pick up Yi Qianxian. They were afraid that their master would punish them in a fit of rage. With Elder Yu's method, their master would be busy dissolving the heavenly fox blood essence in his body. He would probably postpone their punishment, right? The group of people all thought so. Yi Qianxian coldly snorted. How could he not know what they were thinking in their hearts? However, he really urgently needed to dissolve the heavenly fox blood essence in his body. He wouldn't bicker with them for the time being. Recovering his human form as soon as possible. He had had enough of this young fox's body and the nature of its body. In front of that woman, he could still tolerate it. Now that she had left Luo Qingtong's side, Yi Qianren did not want to maintain her image for even a second. Let's go. He lifted his claws and quickly carved a word on the ground. Then, he suddenly jumped onto Feng Yu's shoulder. The latter bowed to him and then released the Atlas flying ship. The group of people boarded the ship and flew towards the Blackfield main city. After Bei Qing and the others left, in the family who, Luo Qingtong put away the small cloth tiger and was about to return to her room. Then, she heard the news from the family who guards outside. The Huo family had sent people to the door and specifically asked to see her. The Huo family. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. When she was in the Bai family, didn't she express her intention clearly enough? Chapter 1388. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. Okay, go and tell Yin Yang that I'll be there soon. Just as the whole clan was heading to the family who, the whole clan head also welcomed a group of unexpected people in the main hall of the whole clan. Young Master Ouyang. The whole clan head and the elders of the whole clan were surprised to see Ouyang Shao suddenly visit. What was this young Master Ouyang doing in the whole clan? As top clans, the whole clan and the Ouyang clan were not enemies, but they were not particularly harmonious either. What's more, the whole clan intended to fight for the map of the Saint King's tomb, but they were defeated by Yu Si Huang. Was the Ouyang clan here to mock them? Thinking of this, the whole clan head's face suddenly darkened. But soon, he was stunned. Whole clan head, I'm here on my father's orders to deliver medicine to you. I heard that Huating and a few elders of the whole clan were injured. Ouyang Shao smiled as he looked at the whole family head and said, these few bottles of medicinal liquid were given to me by the holy doctor who had cured my illness. It can help Huating and the others recover their severed arms without any hindrance. As Ouyang Shao spoke, he immediately took out the bottles of medicine given by Feng Wan and handed them to the whole clan head. This. What do you mean, Master Ouyang? The whole clan head did not take the bottles of medicine, but looked at Ouyang Shao with a puzzled expression. He did not know why the Ouyang clan was so kind. The whole clan's strength suffered a setback, so it should be beneficial for the Ouyang clan, right? When the Saint King's tomb opened, the Ouyang clan would have fewer competitors. Wouldn't that be great? Why did he still give them medicine and treat them? Looking at the whole clan head's vigilant face, Ouyang Shao said, don't misunderstand, Master Hua. These bottles of medicine were not given to you by the Ouyang clan, but by the holy doctor. He said, Yi Zhou, who is hiding in the family who, Chu Lingfeng's friend, is the holy doctor's enemy. The holy doctor saved my life and is the benefactor of our Ouyang clan. Since she has a grudge against family who, we can't let the map of the sage monarch's tomb fall into family who's hands. I chose to cooperate with the whole clan only because we have the same enemy. Patriarch Hua, you also want to obtain the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb to wash away your shame, right? That southern region king was summoned by Yi Zhou. Snatching the map from her is equivalent to slapping the southern region king in the face. It's not too much. The whole clan will also benefit from this. I don't think Patriarch Hua would reject such a proposal, right? Ouyang Shao looked at the whole clan head and said. These words were naturally given to him by Feng Wan. Feng Wan's grasp of people's hearts was extremely accurate. She didn't even need to be there to be sure that the other party wouldn't reject her proposal. Sure enough, after pondering for a while, the whole family head accepted the bottles of medicinal liquid. Then, he looked at Ouyang Shao and asked, does the Ouyang clan mean to support the whole clan in obtaining the map? That's right. Ouyang Shao nodded and said, I know that the whole clan is preparing to cooperate with several other top clans. The Ouyang clan already has a map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. The Ouyang clan will not participate in the second map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. Chapter 1389. Patriarch Hua, what do you think? Ouyang Shao expressed the Ouyang family's attitude. They would not interfere in this matter, so the Hua family and the other top families did not have to worry about them suddenly attacking. Good. The head of the Hua family immediately agreed. If he could, of course, he did not want to share the map with family Hu. The latter had already formed a grudge with the Hua family. When he insisted that Hu Yenyang had an affair and almost forced her to die, he knew that there was no chance for the relationship between the two families to be eased. Now, he had to lower his voice to family Hu in order to get the right to share the map. He was very unwilling to do so. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made contact with the other top families. Now, the Ouyang family's attitude gave him a reassurance. Since the Ouyang family did not interfere, then with the alliance of the other families, it was enough to force family Hu to hand over the map of the Saint King's tomb. even if the other party had the support of a king of the southern region like Yu Si Huang. After all, this was the far west wilderness, not the other party's home ground. This time, family whose success and failure were all because of Yi Jiu. He did not expect that the other party had a grudge with the alchemist who saved Ouyang Shao, so he and the others benefited for no reason. Patriarch Hu thought about it and suddenly laughed. Then, he seemed to remember something and quickly called the guard outside. Quick! Go and call back the people who went to family Hu to make peace. Tell them that it's not necessary. Family Hu can't keep the map of the Saint King's tomb. Also, ask the leaders of the other top families to come here. Tell them that I have something important to discuss with them. Yes. The Hu family guard received the order and left. In family Hu, Luo Qingtong followed the family Hu guard who came to report to the main hall of the main courtyard. Hu Yinyang and the others were already waiting there. Young master. Hu Yinyang, Hu Zhongtian, and the others looked at Luo Qingtong and stood up to salute her. Yes. Luo Qingtong responded in a low voice and nodded. Then, she looked at the group of people sitting on the lower right side of the hall. That group of people was sent by the Hu family to make peace. They originally wanted to contact Luo Qingtong in private. However, Luo Qingtong almost never went out of family Hu. They had no way of bypassing family Hu's people to get in touch with Luo Qingtong, so they could only ask to see her. Ninth young master. The leader of the people from the Hu family who had come this time was an elder who had not participated in the incident with Hu Ting and the others in the Bai family. When he saw Luo Qingtong, he immediately stood up and saluted her. Behind him were some disciples of the Hu clan. However, these people were no longer as arrogant and unbridled as they used to be when they met family Hu. Every one of them was very humble. Ninth young master. They all bowed to Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and looked at them. What is the purpose of the Hu clan's visit this time? The map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. I think I made my attitude very clear when I was in the Bai family last time. Luo Qingtong's voice was calm, but her tone of rejection was unquestionable. The Hu clan had treated Hu Yenyang badly. When they were in the Bai family, they even tried to snatch the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb. No matter what conditions they proposed, Luo Qingtong would not agree. The Hu clan elder's expression was very ugly. The Hu clan could be said to be very influential in the wild city. They had always been the ones who rejected others, but no one had ever rejected them. Chapter 1390. Luo Qingtong's words made the elder of the Hu family very angry. In his opinion, family Hu and this young man named Yi Jiu, if not for Yu Si Huang's strength and identity, they were not even qualified to talk to the Hu family. This time, they were really a fox assuming the majesty of the tiger. How dare they embarrass the Hu family like this? However, when he thought of the map of the Saint King's tomb and what the Hu family had said to them before they left, he could only swallow his anger and said to Luo Qingtong, "Why do you have to do this, young Master Zhou? Our Hu family did go a little too far when we were with the Bai family. But that was just a moment of recklessness for those elders. The Hu family is willing to apologize for this. Moreover, the exploration of the Saint King's tomb is of great importance. With family whose ability alone, I'm afraid it will be difficult for them to move an inch in the Saint King's tomb. Young master, why do you want to affect the benefits of entering the Saint King's tomb because of this small conflict between us? Not to mention other things, just based on the friendship between the Hu family and family Hu in the past, it is far more suitable for you to share the map with us than to find other top families, isn't it?" The elder of the Hu family said as he looked at Luo Qingtong. Hu Zhongtian and the others snorted and sneered when they heard this. The Hu family dared to talk about friendship with them. If they really had a little bit of friendship with family Hu, Yan Yang would not have fallen into such a miserable state. Not to mention, the whole family had never extended a helping hand to family who for so many years. They had kicked them when they were down. The Bai family even brazenly made a move to snatch the map of the Saint King's tomb from them. After all this, the whole family still dared to talk about friendship with them. Hu Zhongtian and the others' expressions were extremely cold. Luo Qingtong was even more unmoved. The whole family's words were nice, but unfortunately, it was useless against her. Why would she need to rely on others to gain something in the Saint King's tomb? Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. Not interested. She looked at the elder of the Huo clan and said, if the people of the Huo clan came just to say these words, then, see them out. Luo Qingtong said and stood up directly. Ninth young master. When the elder of the Huo family saw this, he immediately stood up and shouted anxiously. Luo Qingtong actually didn't give him any face, which made the Huo clan's elder very depressed. However, for the sake of the Huo family's patriarch, she had no choice but to grit her teeth and continue to plead for her. At this moment, a Huo clan guard quickly walked in. Elder. The Huo clan's guard walked up to the Huo clan's elder and whispered into his ear, the patriarch wants us to go back. The Ouyang clan is here to support our Huo clan in the fight for the Saint Monarch's tomb map. The only requirement is that you can't share it with family who. Elder, we don't have to suffer family who's anger anymore. After today, family who will have a good time. The guard had just received a message from the Huo family's patriarch outside and immediately told the Huo clan's elder about it. The elder was stunned at first, but then he was overjoyed. Ha ha ha. Good, good, good. The Huo clan's elder laughed loudly, then looked at Luo Qingtong and the others with a cold and disdainful gaze. Chapter 1391. Ninth young master, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't be so arrogant. If it weren't for the ruler of the southern region, you and family who would have died many times over. How would you have the chance to be so arrogant in front of us? The Huo family has always disdained to lower ourselves to the level of petty people. Otherwise, based on family whose previous down-and-out appearance and the fact that he made the Huo family a laughing stock, he would have been torn to pieces and crushed to pieces a long time ago. But family who doesn't appreciate it. You really don't know what's good for you. Especially you, Hu Yinyang. The Huo family elder sneered at Hu Yinyang and said, doesn't family who hate us for telling the public that you had an affair with someone else? Unfortunately, even if you were set up, you are still an unclean broken shoe. You did something shameless yourself. Naturally, you can't blame the Huo family for misunderstanding you. Isn't that the case? The Huo family elder's expression was cold and disdainful. His mocking and disdainful gaze pierced Hu Yinyang deeply. She was so angry that her body trembled. This Huo family elder's words were too shameless. Back then, the Huo family clearly didn't have any evidence. In order to protect their own reputation and to prevent Hu Yinyang from blaming the Huo family, they simply told the public that she had an affair with someone else. Hu Yinyang had no way to defend herself. She had been slandered and despised to the core. Now, this Huo family elder dared to say such things about her and shamelessly whitewashed the Huo family. Hu Yinyang was so angry that her entire body trembled. Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei, who were beside her, were also very angry. They had always treated Hu Yinyang like the apple of their eye. When the latter encountered such an unforeseen event, they were just as heartbroken as Hu Yinyang. Now that they saw this Huo family elder slandering and humiliating Hu Yinyang, they were instantly so angry that their hair and beards flared up. In the past, Hu Yinyang wouldn't have been so miserable. If it weren't for the Huo family slander, Hu Zhongtian could have brought Hu Yinyang back to family whose care and suppressed that matter. However, it was the Huo family's publicity and slander that trampled Hu Yinyang, who had lost her virginity. At that time, the whole family had countless ways to break off the engagement, but they chose the most ruthless way to deal with Hu Yennyang, which was also the one that made her feel the most hopeless. If it wasn't for this, how could Bai Feng have seized the opportunity to make a move on Hu Yennyang and forced her to flee thousands of miles away? This elder of the Huo clan actually dared to speak to her like that. Family of S. But she couldn't act rashly. Her intuition, which had been in charge of the affairs of the Blackfield residents for Luo Qingtong for a long time, told her that there must be a reason behind this Huo family elder's sudden change in attitude. Before she figured it out, she couldn't cause trouble for Luo Qingtong because of her own affairs. Perhaps the other party wanted to provoke her to deal with her master. As Hu Yennyang thought of this, she immediately suppressed all the anger and frustration in her heart. At the same time, she held Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei's hands to prevent them from acting too rashly. Chapter 1392. What are you waiting for? Luo Qingtong's face was cold as she looked at the Huo family elder who was sneering at her. She said to Hu Yennyang and the others coldly, "Others are pointing at your noses and scolding you. Are you waiting for them to leave happily after scolding you to their heart's content? Still not attacking? Today, no one from the Huo family can leave here in one piece." This Huo family elder's attitude was strange. Luo Qingtong naturally saw it. It would be fine if the other party left obediently. She wouldn't go as far as to attack a random person. But the other party was so arrogant and unscrupulous. They even insulted Hu Yennyang. Luo Qingtong couldn't tolerate it. Did they really think that she didn't dare to attack them? So what if the Huo family had someone backing them? She, Luo Qingtong, was never afraid of any challenge. You dare. Yi Zhou. You dare to attack us. The Huo family won't let you go. The Huo family elder just said arrogantly and humiliated Hu Yennyang. He also attacked Hu Zhongtian and his son. Suddenly, he felt an indescribable pleasure in his heart. He only felt that he had vented his anger in front of Luo Qingtong. He thought that even if Luo Qingtong and the others were angry, they wouldn't dare to do anything to them. After all, they had the whole Huo family behind them. And he didn't attack Luo Qingtong. He just wanted to deal with Hu Yennyang. What could the other party do to him? Yu Si Huang was willing to protect Yi Zhou and family Hu. But it didn't mean that he would also protect Hu Yennyang. He calculated in his heart, but he didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would attack him. Seeing Hu Zhongtian and the others surrounding them, his heart felt bad. Was this Yi Zhou crazy? She relied on Yu Si Huang's protection. She actually dared to take the initiative to attack him. Just to avenge Hu Yennyang. The elder of the Huo family was both anxious and angry as he thought about it. He hurriedly shouted, "Chi!" Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She sneered at him and said, "If we don't touch you, the Huo clan won't do anything to us. If that's the case, you wouldn't be so arrogant just now, right?" As she spoke, she lifted her eyes to look at the Huo family elder, whose expression had suddenly changed, and casually said, "So, why should I let you go?" At this point, Luo Qingtong's expression suddenly turned solemn. She said in a cold voice, "Do it. Chop him up and send him back to the Huo family. As for the others, break their limbs and send them back." The other party was so respectful. Luo Qingtong didn't believe that the Huo family didn't have a plot against her and the Hu family. Their biggest goal was to get their hands on the map of the sage monarch's tomb that family Hu had. Since that was the case, why would Luo Qingtong be polite to the other party? This action was not only to avenge Hu Yennyang, but also to let the Huo family know that she wasn't someone to be trifled with. They dared to go against her, so they were waiting to be skinned alive. Yes. Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei were just about to attack, but Hu Yannyang reached out to stop them. They knew that Hu Yannyang was afraid of causing more trouble for Luo Qingtong, so they restrained themselves and didn't attack. Now that they heard Luo Qingtong's words, they naturally jumped up and rushed toward the panicking Huo family elder. The latter thought that Luo Qingtong and the others didn't dare to touch them because of the Huo family. Chapter 1393. Only now did he realize the consequences of speaking too quickly. However, there was no room for regret now. Ah! The Huo family elder screamed as he died at the hands of Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei. At that time, they came with the intention of seeking peace. They did not expect to have a conflict with family Hu. They also did not expect that Luo Qingtong would not care about the Huo family and directly kill him. In the end, the Huo family elder died with his eyes wide open. As for the other Huo clan guards who had followed them to the Huo clan, they were all surrounded by the Hu clan people. They were directly pressed to the ground and their limbs were all broken. Together with the Huo clan elder who had been chopped into minced meat, they were all sent to the Huo clan in a grandiose manner. In the Huo family head had just sent Ouyang Shao off. He was very pleased. Back then, he had slandered Hu Yannyang for having an affair. He felt very uncomfortable in his heart. He always felt that it was a stain on his reputation. He was also very concerned about family Hu's people. Previously, when family Hu was in dire straits, it was still fine. Now that family Hu was showing signs of rising, his heart instantly felt like a fishbone stuck in his throat. It would be best if he could use this opportunity to get rid of family Hu. Otherwise, he would always feel uncomfortable when he looked at family Hu's people. Moreover, he did not believe that family Hu's people, Hu Yannyang, and the others, would not have any intention of settling the score with him. Now that the Ouyang family had supported them in snatching family Hu's map of the Saint King's tomb, he no longer had any worries. Even if Yu Siwang had the support of the other party, they would have nothing to fear if the other top families joined forces. The Huo family head suddenly felt relieved when he thought of this. He walked to the main gate and was just about to ask someone to prepare gifts for him to visit the other top families. At this moment, a burst of noise suddenly came from not far away. Instantly, the Huo family head frowned and looked in the direction of the noise. The noise was very noisy and seemed to be getting closer and closer. It was obvious that the noise was directed at the Huo family. Instantly, the Huo family head felt very uneasy. Who dares to act so impudently in front of our Huo clan? This area was the Huo family's private land. Most of the people living nearby were the elites of the Huo family. It could be said that very few people came here. It would be difficult for ordinary people to enter this place. But obviously, that would be the case. The noisy noises were an exception. Let's go see what's going on. Listening to the increasingly noisy voices, Patriarch Hua inexplicably had a bad premonition in his heart. It was as if something bad had happened. He coldly ordered the Huo family guards at the door. The latter and the others nodded and were just about to leave when suddenly, a few figures rushed in from outside in a hurry. Because they were running too fast and in too much of a hurry, they tripped over each other and almost fell flat on the ground. No! Bad news! They ran to the entrance of the Huo clan in a panic. When they saw Patriarch Hua and the others standing there, they immediately shouted. Patriarch! Please go and take a look. Seventh Elder and the others. Patriarch Hua's face instantly froze. What happened to Seventh Elder and the others? Chapter 1394. The Huo family head's heart skipped a beat when he suddenly heard the Huo family disciples mention her name. At this moment, the noisy voices suddenly turned a corner and rang clearly in the ears of the Huo family head and the others. The Huo family are all be *cheese. We slandered Hu Yennyang, we deserve to die. The whole family is shameless. Suddenly, the sound of crying could be heard clearly from the front. The whole family head and the others could clearly see the scene in the direction of the voices. A group of people with broken limbs crawled forward and crawled in the direction of the whole family head and the others. Behind them was a group of family whose guards. Hu Fei and Chu Lingfang walked in front of the family whose guards. What's going on? The whole family head looked at the scene with a furious expression. In front of him, the few Hu family disciples who had rushed back to report the news were almost knocked down by the biting cold aura emitted from his body. Ma. Family head, we don't know either, the few of them said with sobbing voices. The few of them happened to be out today and heard the commotion outside. Then, they saw family whose people forcing the whole family's guards and disciples, who had broken limbs, to crawl back to the whole family. Along the way, there were many people pointing and whispering. Not only that, the whole family's guards and disciples were shouting insults at the whole family and themselves while crying and telling them all the secrets of the whole family. Oh my God! The few whole family disciples were dumbfounded on the spot. Were these people crazy? Even if they were held by family whose people around their necks, they couldn't reveal the secrets of the whole family. Especially when some of the secrets were related to how the Bai family dealt with the other families. In the wilderness city, who didn't know about the recent downfall of the Bai family? The things that the Bai family had done were all spread out by the people of the other families. Not only that, most of the Bai family's assets were also divided among the other families. However, the Bai family's most important treasury and assets were nowhere to be found. The various clans had interrogated the Bai family members, but they didn't obtain any information about the location of the Bai family. The other clans all suspected that the whole clan had moved those things away. After all, there were so many things. Among all the clans present, the whole clan was the only one who had the ability to move those things away in such a short time. There were many things that the Bai family could not have done on their own. They must have conspired together, and the other party's strength and influence were very strong. These people didn't know about the existence of the voodoo sect, so they naturally targeted the whole clan. After all, the whole family and the Bai family were in-laws. Bai Feng acted as the go-between in the whole family, and the two parties worked together. The Bai family was the vanguard while the whole family reaped the fruits of their labor. If the Bai family was unable to solve the problem, the whole family would take care of it in secret. This conjecture was very logical. However, no one had any evidence, so they could only give up. At this moment, the whole family members, whose limbs were broken, were crawling on the ground and crying as they spoke. This gave them sufficient reason. Many of the family members who were injured in the Bai family's incident ran back to their respective clans to report the news. The few whole family disciples were panicking. Chapter 1395. Master. The group of people was still rambling incoherently, but Master Hu had already heard the cries of the Hu family's disciples and guards who had their limbs broken. He was so angry that he was about to have a cerebral hemorrhage. What the hell were these people talking about? When did the whole family do such things? Were they crazy? Family whose people broke their limbs, and they actually helped family whose people to slander the whole family. Master Hu was so angry that he almost couldn't breathe. Some of the things that the whole family disciples and guards said were indeed secrets of the whole family. They were not very important, and it didn't matter if they said it. However, what they said afterwards about how the whole clan had helped the Bai clan deal with the other clans in the Wildland City was extremely frightening. Master Hu couldn't care less about the few Hu family disciples who were kneeling in front of him and stuttering as they reported. He lifted his leg and kicked them to the side. Then, he coldly shouted, "Shut up. Hurry up and bring all of them here. Make them shut up." Master Hu was extremely angry, especially when he saw that many people from other families had arrived outside. He instantly became even angrier. If these people appeared individually, he could completely ignore them. However, when so many families appeared together, even if Master Huo was the master of one of the top families, he couldn't simply offend them all. It was also because they were well aware of this point that the people from those clans had all come together. Huo clan head, can you explain what's going on? A middle-ranked family master raised his hand and pointed at the group of Huo family disciples and guards who were kneeling on the ground and crying non-stop. I don't know what is going on, Master Huo said with a cold expression. He knew that at this time, he definitely couldn't admit to this matter. And these things weren't done by the Huo family in the first place. He denied it righteously, then looked at Hu Fei and Chu Lingfeng with a gloomy expression. Shouldn't you ask family Hu's people about these things? These guards and disciples were all sent to family Hu by me. You should ask them what they did to my disciples and guards to make them say such things. The Huo family head's face was filled with anger. He really didn't know what family Hu had done to these disciples and guards. If he had known that the result of sending people to family Hu would be like this, he wouldn't have sent people there in the first place. He would have just gone against family Hu directly. The Huo family head's expression was furious, but Hu Fei, who had already received Luo Qingtong's instructions, looked very calm. He looked at the ferocious Huo family head and said, Huo family head, your words are a little funny. My family Hu's people can beat the Huo family's people into confessing. Do you think they know all the secrets of the Huo family? Whether these people are telling the truth or not, we'll know with a simple test. If family Hu had the ability to know the Huo family like the back of his hand, he wouldn't have been nearly destroyed by the Bai family. As soon as Hu Fei finished speaking, everyone present immediately nodded their heads. That's right, they were very clear about family Hu's situation. Chapter 1396. But now, with these details as evidence, it was absolutely impossible that family Hu had instructed the Huo family's disciples and guards to spill the beans. Although he didn't know how family Hu did it, the words of these guards and disciples were absolutely true. There was no doubt about it. Hu Fei's words instantly angered Patriarch Huo so much that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Family Hu's move was too ruthless. How did they do it? In fact, Luo Qingtong had only fed them a truth pill to make these Huo family's guards and disciples reveal all of the Huo family's secrets. As for the crimes that didn't exist, Luo Qingtong only needed to hypnotize them and make them believe that these things really existed. Naturally, their subconscious minds would say these words together with the effects of the truth pill. Luo Qingtong had been thinking about how to push the blame of the voodoo sect to the Huo family. She didn't expect them to come knocking on her door. Since the Huo family wanted to die so badly, she naturally had to grant them their wish. Luo Qingtong had never been a sitting duck. Her usual style was to strike first to gain the initiative. Since the Huo family had already decided to deal with her, then she wouldn't be merciful. She would use the Huo family's name to hide the voodoo sect. From now on, the connections and resources controlled by the voodoo sect would never be discovered. Luo Qingtong would let Su Yu and the others make good use of those connections and resources. As for the Huo family, I'll just have to take the blame for this. At the same time, in family Hu Yannyang looked worriedly at Luo Qingtong and said, Master, won't this enrage the Huo family too much? Hu Yannyang wasn't worried about anything else. She was only afraid that the Huo family would fly into a rage out of humiliation and recklessly attack them and Luo Qingtong. If anything happened to her master, it's fine, the Huo family won't have the chance. Just this alone was enough for the Huo family to be in a terrible fix. Not to mention, if the Huo clan wanted the map of the Saint Monarch's tomb, they would not rashly attack him. He had to have a certain level of confidence. Of course, if the Huo family really made a move, she would be more than happy to oblige. She was just worrying about how to muddy the waters. Only when the water is muddy will it be easier to fish in troubled waters. It would be great if the Huo family was willing to give her this opportunity. Luo Qingtong's actions were meant to infuriate the Huo family head. However, according to her investigation of the other party, it was unlikely that the other party would do so. Otherwise, he would be too stupid. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. Hu Yannyang heard her words and immediately calmed down. To her, as long as Luo Qingtong said it was fine, then it was definitely fine. However, the Huo clan's sudden change in attitude was definitely a hidden danger to them. They didn't know what kind of conspiracy they were thinking. Luo Qingtong already had some guesses in her heart. The Huo family alone wouldn't rashly go against Yu Sihuang. So, there must be someone else who had allied with them. She just didn't know who it was. Were the people of the Ouyang clan involved in this? Feng Wan, thinking of the person behind the Ouyang family who was also pointing a sword at the Saint Monarch's tomb, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. Chapter 1397. Luo Qingtong smiled as she thought of this. She bid farewell to Hu Yannyang and left family Hu. Luo Qingtong already had a plan in mind. The Huo family was about to force their way in, so she naturally had to do something. She didn't want to be too passive. Just as Luo Qingtong left family Hu, the Huo family head was enraged by Hu Fei's words at the entrance of the Huo family. More and more people from the other families rushed over, giving him a headache. It was unknown what the Hu clan had done to the Huo clan's disciples and guards who had their arms and legs broken, but no matter what, they refused to shut up. The Huo family head had no choice. He couldn't kill all of them in front of so many people. If he did, it would be the Huo family who had a guilty conscience and killed them to silence them. However, if they continued to make a ruckus, the Huo family would definitely be the scapegoat. He had no choice but to let the Huo family members go forward, seal their mouths, and drag them back to the backyard one by one. He wanted to see if there was any way to wake them up so that the Huo family could be cleared of suspicion. Otherwise, the following matters would be troublesome. That damned family Hu. That damned Yizhou. The Huo family head had already linked this to Luo Qingtong's doing. After all, he was well aware of the capabilities of family Hu's people. Only a weak youth who had provoked the king of the southern mountain range could do such a thing. Moreover, she obviously had medical skills. Hu Zhongtian's injury and Hu Fei's strange illness were all cured by her. The Huo family head gritted his teeth as he thought of this. Family Hu, Yizhou, just you wait. He gritted his teeth and looked at Hu Fei and the other family members with a dark expression. He suddenly shouted coldly, "The Huo family will definitely give you an explanation for what happened today. But now, we don't welcome family Hu's people here. All of you, get lost." He looked coldly at Hu Fei and the others. "You don't have to worry about this, Huo family head. Since we have delivered the gift, we naturally have to leave." "Oh, that's right, we still have a big gift here that we haven't delivered." Ninth young master personally instructed that this big gift must be delivered to the Huo family head. Otherwise, I'm afraid that it isn't sincere enough. As he said this, he immediately called out to Chu Lingfeng, who was beside him. "Ling Feng." The latter responded and took out a black jar from the useless ring that Luo Qingtong gave him. Then, he raised his hand and threw it at the head of the Huo family. "Stop pretending to be mysterious." The Huo family head snorted coldly. He didn't even look at the jar. He raised his hand and smashed the jar into pieces. However, the moment the jar shattered, the head of the Huo family clearly felt that something was wrong. In an instant, a strong smell of blood assaulted their nostrils. Bang! After the jar exploded, a large mass of flesh and blood instantly rained down on the head of the Huo family. All right. We have received all the gifts. Is the Huo family head satisfied? As Hu Fei's voice rang out, the Huo family head's expression instantly turned ferocious. His body instantly exploded. Hu Fei. His expression was extremely ferocious and distorted. He could clearly sense the aura on the blood and flesh. This was clearly Seventh Elder, who he had sent to family Hu. Chapter 1398. With a boom, the Huo family had attacked Hu Fei. However, just as his figure rose up, Chu Lingfeng, who had just thrown the jar, suddenly appeared in front of Hu Fei with a bang. With a bang, the muscles all over his body tightened and a fake petrification soul seal appeared on his back. That was a fake soul seal imprint that Luo Qingtong had drawn for Chu Lingfeng. With this fake soul seal imprint and Chu Lingfeng's special physique, he resisted the Huo family head's attack. Bang! Chu Lingfeng's figure retreated rapidly. The skin all over his body had exploded and he looked like a bloody man. However, the aura all over his body was not weak at all. He stared at the stunned Huo family head and then raised his hand to wipe the blood from the side of his lips. My mother is not an immoral bitch. Chu Lingfeng said in a low, muffled voice. If I hear anyone from the Huo family say such things again, I will kill one person for every word. As long as you can't kill me, I will kill everyone from the Huo family. Even if it was someone else who said it, I will still blame it on the Huo family. Chu Lingfeng had followed Luo Qingtong for a long time and he had learned some of Luo Qingtong's black-bellied character. Although he was silly, he was very concerned about his master's matters. As for his mother's matters, it was needless to say. This time, Chu Lingfeng came to the Huo family to present gifts at his own request. He wanted to let everyone know in public that his mother was not to be trifled with. If these people brought up his mother's matters again, they could not blame him for being unscrupulous and starting a massacre. Anyway, his master had said that no matter what method he used, he would be a hero if he could win. Chu Lingfeng's voice was muffled. The Huo family head had not yet recovered from the shock of the other party being able to withstand his attack. In an instant, he was angered to death by his words. The other party's words were simply shameless. Why should the Huo family be blamed for what other people said? They had gone too far. The family Hu people had gone too far. Patriarch Huo looked at family Hu with bloodshot eyes. Hu Fei did not expect Chu Lingfeng to jump out and block the attack. Not only that, he actually managed to block the attack and was only severely injured. He jumped in fright and hurriedly pulled Chu Lingfeng away. He was afraid that something would happen to this foolish nephew of his. When they returned, wouldn't his younger sister and ninth young master teach him a lesson? The group of people quickly left, leaving behind the furious Huo family head, who had lost all his face, panting heavily. Bastard! He slammed his palm heavily on the ground, almost flipping all the bluestones on the street. Prepare gifts for me and head to the other top clans immediately. Family Hu, Yi Zhou. Just wait and see. While the Huo family head was angrily heading to the other top clans, Hu Fei hurriedly brought Chu Lingfeng, who was badly mutilated, back to family Hu. He had not seen Chu Lingfeng injured before, so naturally, he did not know about his special constitution. He was almost scared to death when he saw his badly mutilated appearance. Chu Lingfeng, on the other hand, looked completely fine. When he was in the blood arena, he often suffered more serious injuries than this. Chapter 1399. Ninth Young Master. Young Master. As soon as Hu Fei came back, he hurriedly went to look for Luo Qingtong. The latter had just finished her work and came back. Seeing Chu Lingfeng in such a state, she immediately raised her eyebrows. What's going on? Why are you injured like this? didn't she tell them not to clash with the Huo family? Master. Seeing Luo Qingtong, Chu Lingfeng's indifferent expression changed. He lowered his head like a child who had done something wrong. Then, he quietly looked at Luo Qingtong from the corner of his eyes to see if she was angry with him. I deliberately blocked that old man's attack. Master, I warned them not to talk about my mother. Master, I didn't listen to you. Are you unhappy? Chu Lingfeng asked Luo Qingtong with a nervous expression. I won't. Luo Qingtong looked at Chu Lingfeng's expression, which was like a big wolf dog who was afraid of being abandoned. She immediately raised her head and patted his head. In the beginning, she was willing to accept Chu Lingfeng and the others because of their filial and pure nature. Of course, they were also loyal. You were right to protect Yan Nyang. Luo Qingtong said, how can you not protect your parents when you were born? You did very well. As Luo Qingtong spoke, Chu Lingfeng immediately became happy. His tall and burly body looked particularly simple and straightforward. He kept smiling foolishly. But soon, he lowered his head and muttered in dissatisfaction, it's fine as long as I protect mother. I don't want that father. Hu Yinyang had never hidden anything from Chu Lingfeng. She felt that even if her son was a fool, he still had the right to know his own life and origin. Hu Yinyang actually didn't know much about that man. Back then, she had fallen into Bai Feng's trap and was invited to a rundown temple by the latter. In the end, the person who had been waiting for her was the man who had fallen into her trap. In her panic, Hu Yinyang only saw the word Chu on a jade tablet hanging around the other party's neck. There was another word at the end, but Hu Yinyang couldn't see it clearly. She fainted from the pain. When she regained consciousness, she was faced with Bai Feng's sad and pitying gaze, as well as the disdainful and contemptuous gazes of the Huo family Hu, and the others. Hu Yinyang didn't know the man's name, nor did he know if the word Chu was his surname. The word Chu was the only impression she had of him. Naturally, it was used on Chu Lingfeng and became his surname. This way, at least her son's life would be more complete. Hu Yinyang thought so. She rarely talked about the past, but when she did, she couldn't help but feel grief in her heart. Chu Lingfeng had secretly seen her cry a few times. Naturally, he didn't have any good impression of the father, who had made his mother so sad. In any case, he only recognized his mother. What was a father? He didn't know. Moreover, people had said that he was a fool since he was young. Even if he had a father, the other party wouldn't want him. Chu Lingfeng had heard a lot about this, so he didn't have any thoughts about this so-called father of his. However, even if he didn't want his father, he still wanted to seek justice for his mother. If he had the chance to meet the other party in the future, he would definitely ask the other party to seek justice for his mother. After Luo Qingtong finished treating Chu Lingfeng, she saw Hu Yinyang standing outside the door when she went out. The latter still had tears on her face. When she saw Luo Qingtong come out, she quickly wiped them away. Chapter 1400. Ouyang Clan. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly. She looked at Hu Yinyang. The thing in the latter's hand was clearly an invitation. Luo Qingtong took it and opened it to take a look. It said that the Ouyang clan would be holding a meeting and invited her and family Hu to attend to discuss entering the sage monarch's tomb together. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. Sage monarch's tomb meeting. Discuss entering the sage monarch's tomb together. Did the others also receive this invitation? Luo Qingtong looked at Hu Yinyang and asked. They all received it. Hu Yinyang said, all the forces and families in Wild City received this invitation, including those who rushed to Wild City after hearing the news. The news of the sage monarch's tomb began to spread after the Ouyang clan announced it. Luo Qingtong and the others had not heard of it when they were in Fenghua City because Fenghua City was located too far away from Wild City. So the news spread relatively slowly. When they rushed to Wild City later, they heard a lot of rumors along the way. During this period of time, many people rushed to Wild City, waiting for the sage monarch's tomb to appear. Well, in that case, let's go. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, and her smile was playful. The Ouyang clan's move was really good. She did not know if it was Feng Wuan's idea or not. This was an open conspiracy. Even if Luo Qingtong knew very well that the Ouyang clan was holding the sage monarch's tomb meeting this time, it was likely that they had an ulterior motive. However, so many people had received the invitation and would definitely go. If she and family who did not go, they would only become the target of everyone. In that case, why not go? She wanted to see what kind of surprise gift the Ouyang clan and Feng Wuan had prepared for her. Yes. Hu Yenyang nodded and said, I'll immediately send someone to reply to the Ouyang clan. But master, she looked worriedly at Luo Qingtong and said, I'm afraid the Ouyang clan's grand assembly of the sage monarch's tomb this time isn't normal. I'm afraid that they will target you at the conference. Hu Yenyang followed Luo Qingtong and managed all the businesses and affairs of the Blackfield mansion for her. She was very sensitive to these conspiracies and immediately felt that something was wrong. She was worried about Luo Qingtong's safety. Master, should we send someone to ask for help from the Blackfield and ask them to send some people over? She looked at Luo Qingtong. Previously, Luo Qingtong had been hiding her identity, fearing that there would be some twists and turns in the matter of the Saint Monarch's tomb. Now that the Ouyang family and the Hu family were clearly targeting her master, and there was also a divine heavenly doctor who had a grudge against her master, Hu Yenyang was afraid that something would happen to Luo Qingtong's safety. No need, distant water can't quench a present thirst. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. The Blackfield's forces were almost all concentrated in the east region. The far west wilderness was a pioneering area, and the competition between forces was great. The law of the jungle was serious. The Blackfield's deterrence here was far from that great. What's more, behind the Ouyang family was the divine heavenly doctor, Feng Wuan. The enmity between her and the other party was as deep as the sea. Luo Qingtong believed that the other party would spare no effort to incite the forces in the Wild City to deal with her. Exposing her identity was of no use to her. On the contrary, it would easily attract more unnecessary trouble. Moreover, Yi Qianxian was currently in the extraterritorial realm looking for a way to temporarily alleviate the hidden dangers in his body. Luo Qingtong couldn't distract him. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.